Well, I guess it's a good thing I got the Lancer sold yesterday and all the trucks moved around because it's fucking snowing. It's May 6th, but yeah, it's still snowing. Well, there's no point in being sneaky with it. You know what I bought from the thumbnail of the video and the title. But here are the details. It is a 1969 Cadillac Miller-Meteor Hearse sitting on top of a 1989 Ford F-150 long bed extended cab four-wheel drive frame. It has a 302 and a 5-speed in it. Right now, the Cadillac body is just sitting on the frame, just, to be able to roll it off the trailer pretty much. As we go through the story here, I'll edit in some photos, but long story short, I don't remember if I said that I bought the Cadillac in the last video or just that I had made an offer, but clearly, yeah, I bought it. It was like a mile and a half up the road from me. The problem was it was only the body. There was no rear end, there was no frame, there was no suspension, there was nothing. It was just the body, but it was titled. So I threw out a low ball offer, as you do, half expecting it to be shot down. Well, it wasn't, and then I owned a Cadillac. So I had to find something to put it on because there's no point in having this dropped on my car trailer with no way to, get it off of the car trailer. So I started scouring the interwebs, figuring out the wheelbase and width of the Cadillac, which is different from a normal four-door Cadillac. It is significantly longer. And I started looking at truck frames that were, as similar as humanly possible to cut down on the amount of fabrication necessary. And it needed to be four-wheel drive because if I'm going to the effort of frame swapping something, it needs to fucking be four-wheel drive because, I live on a hill in Alaska where there's snow 8 months out of the year, so I'd like to be able to drive it. And that is how we came upon this 89 F-150. It was a Lariat. It was kind of a nice truck. I didn't know how nice it was until I started tearing it apart. And, these extended cabs usually rot out really bad. And this one is, it's pretty solid. So I'm trying to find somebody who can use this. I sold, $200 or so worth of parts off of the truck as I tore it down, gave a lot of stuff away, trashed a lot of stuff. There was some body damage up in the front driver's fender, I think it was. Whatever. It wasn't perfect. I didn't feel too bad about tearing it apart, but I don't like things going to waste either. So, we're trying to make sure people have what they need. It turns out that these extended cab long bed Fords are 1 inch different in wheelbase from the Cadillac. So you can see this is just setting on here right now, but in terms of fitment, it is not terrible lengthwise. It needs to be shifted side to side a little bit, but that's not that bad. And it's going to sit probably 5 inches lower or so once I get the blocks out from underneath the body, just so he could get the forks of the forklift back out. It was kind of a weird scenario how I even came upon this truck because I had just bought the Cadillac. I had figured out one of these was going to work, and that's what I needed. I was going to make a wanted ad that night, and I had a guy message me about the Dodge Lancer ad that I still had up at the time. That was sitting right there. The guy finally did pick that up. He was really, really cool guy. Anyway, he wanted to know if the Impala in the background of one of those photos was for sale. And I told him, not ideally, whatever. We started talking about cars and whatnot, and I told him I had just bought the Cadillac, and he was like, well, what are you going to do with it? And I said that I needed one of these trucks to put it on, and he's like, hey, I have one of those. So it's just one of those situations, one of those few situations where something just works out really nice. It was going to be a parts truck for them, I guess, and they never got around to actually tearing it down. The prior owner to them said that it ran and drove. I don't know. I never tried it before I ripped it apart. I just needed something to throw the Cadillac body on to roll off my trailer. The rest can, happen as it comes. So about a month ago, Brian helped me haul this truck back from a little ways out of town, which is much appreciated. I sold the diesel this spring, and until this monstrosity's put together, or I buy something else, which I'm looking at here right now, I don't really have a tow vehicle. So again, that was greatly appreciated. Once this hit my yard, I started tearing it apart the following morning, and I did a whole video on disassembling this truck. And upon further review, when I started editing it together, it was boring as all holy fuck. So I decided to just shelve that for now and give you the quick synopsis of what all has been happening. So now we'll take a quick look at the Cadillac itself. You can see, so I got a couple trailer loads of parts beforehand, and one of them was this fender skirt that I started to shine up, and despite the paint being all weather checked and whatnot, sun faded and everything, it came back pretty okay-ish. Like where there is still paint, I think we can get it to shine again, and that will be the next video you see on this car. I'm actually going to start doing that this afternoon, but I wanted to do an initial walk-around video to put out first because that might take a couple days. There's a lot of car here to wax. So when I bought it, I couldn't actually walk up to the car, walk around it, see what there all was for an interior and everything. There was still over a foot of snow on the ground at the time, and it was sitting way up on the back of another truck that was on the top of a hill. And yeah, I just saw it from afar, threw out an offer. I thought that piece of glass was missing, but it was actually just stuck down in the door. And I knew that there wasn't a back window on it, but that actually was separate inside the hearse here, wrapped up in plastic and everything. So I have all the glass for it. I need to get the weather stripping to put it back in this back door, but that's good because I thought it was all flat glass and it is not. Even these side windows here, you can see that there's a little bit of curvature to that, so that would have been expensive. I do have the rear bumper that is in the carport with a bunch of other parts and pieces for the interior, but yeah, the taillights and everything are in good shape. I have most of the trim going down the side. I'm missing a couple pieces, but I'm hoping that's kind of just generic Cadillac stuff that I will be able to find. This is the better side of the car in terms of paint. There is very little rust in it besides the bottom of both front fenders right there, so I'm sure it continues down underneath that trim a little bit. I fear the sun's kind of going to mess up getting a good view of this on video, but it looks fucking good sitting here on this frame. And again, it's going to sit a little bit lower when we're done, but yeah, it is a Cadillac. It is a fucking huge car. Again, front bumper's there. I have pretty much everything for this. In terms of interior, it is blue, which I did not expect being a black Cadillac hearse. I figured it would be white or in black, but no, it is this kind of nice teal blue. The seat is in phenomenal shape, and the dash is as well, really. Everything is pretty complete. I gotta find a horn button piece for that steering wheel, but I'm sure those are out there. Headliner up front is in good shape, and it starts sagging back there, so I'll probably rip it out past this, heading that way, and reupholster that sometime in the future. What's cool about these doors, being for ambulances and hearses, is they open up a full 90 degrees, so there's a pass-through here. Kind of neat. There is not a spot of rot on the floors anywhere in this. It is in really, really good shape. I don't know how much the average person knows about ambulances, hearses, stuff like that, and the coach building companies that made them, Miller-Meteor, Superior, whatnot. Pretty much Cadillac would sell a cabin chassis situation, which was the front clip, the dash, the firewall, and the frame, from what I gather. And then the coach building company would build their own ambulance, hearse, or flower car body on that. So understandably, there weren't a ton of these produced, especially the hearses. There are more ambulances from what I gather. And it's not like they were rode hard and put up wet for the most part, because the funeral homes wanted to keep them looking nice. And, they went from the funeral home to the cemetery and back kind of deal. I haven't actually looked at the odometer on this one yet. We'll do that in a minute. But we'll finish off around the back of the car here. I'm actually going to be able to get the tank that was used in the Ford to work at the factory location here for the filler. And then here we have this giant-ass door. Now that the thing sits up so high, it's a little heavier than it would normally be. Yeah, as you can see, some of the interior paneling needs to be put back in place and whatnot. But yeah, there's no rot in anything here. I'm going to vacuum it all out. Probably, pour 15, everything, seal it up, and find some sort of rubber or carpet kit to put back in here. But you can see the inner structure of the roof here. Kind of neat. And then these were kind of just the wheel well. I'm not sure if anything is stored in those. I haven't looked yet. Don't really know if I want to know. But yeah, it's kind of neat. Like they would make good campers or something like that. I've wanted specifically a 1968 Hearse for as long as I've wanted a 68 Charger. I think 1968 was the peak of the American automotive industry in terms of styling for my preferred look. You know, a lot of people like the 30s and 40s, and I get that. I like the more muscular looking, you know, big cars. But I wanted a 68. This is a 69. The only real difference is the headlights are not stacked, they're side by side. I don't really care, it's close enough. All of the doors are just, it's Cadillac quality. Even though the coach building company built all of it, like, you can definitely tell this thing is a Cadillac. They really overbuilt the floors. This is really thick metal. Got to clean up everything in here, vacuum. Probably take that carpet out, get a new carpet kit for it. This is probably the door panel that's in the best shape. But yeah, look at how good this seat is. Like, that's barely used. It is very blue, though. Again, I did not expect the blue. Let's see, the odometer is 26,500. I'm not sure if I believe that. And the trip is 628. So, could be original, maybe not. You know, it's in really good shape. I wish that it was still on the original frame with the original motor and all of that. But it is what it is. It was cheap and I bought it. And under the hood here, we can see that a lot of the old plastic jugs and whatnot are still here. The master, booster, all that kind of stuff, windshield wiper, washer, all that. Heater box, you know, like everything is still here. And you can also see how the front especially needs to be shifted that way a little bit because the motor's a little offset in there. There's going to be a ton of finicky shit getting this to work out properly. But the big move is done. The rest of it we can do with cherry pickers and, you know, porta powers, high lifts, stuff like that. I think I'm probably going to carb swap this 302 for now. I'll keep all of the fuel injection shit for a later date because it would be nice, especially in the winter here. But instead of dealing with rewiring the entire deal to work initially, I want to make sure the engine runs, and how to do that quickly is a carburetor. The only real dent in this thing is in the front fender right here, and there's no like huge creases to it. It's all kind of just rolled softly in. So I think we're going to be able to get that to pop out pretty nicely. There's a little bit right there that might be an issue, but not bad. Well, anyway, this is the big acquisition for this summer, most likely. I didn't intend to buy one of these this year. I told myself I was only going to buy things that were four-wheel drive. Well, I made it four-wheel drive, if that counts. But yeah, you're going to be seeing a lot more of this throughout the summer. Hopefully we'll have it driving around by fall. We'll need to see how intricate getting everything to work out is going to be. It might be a pain in the ass. It might be a lot easier than I think. It's hard telling, not knowing. While this was all being put together, we went to Cruising with Santa a couple weeks ago. I took the International. Brian took his Scout. The International developed some sort of rotational ting sound kind of by the inspection cover for the transmission there. And I'm hoping it's not a bolt backing out of the torque converter or something. I don't know. I haven't looked at it yet. I got to get it up on ramps. That'll probably be a video that you see in the future. Just a quick diagnostic kind of thing. And yeah, everything else is kind of just the same as it has been. I think it's next weekend. It's going to be Charger weekend. Long story short, I'll be doing a whole separate video on this, but what you can look forward to is we're taking the tired 318 out of the blue Charger, and we're going to put it in the flat Charger, coupled with this mystery transmission that may or may not be any good. And then we're going to take this Jeep 318 here, well, it came out of a Jeep, that red Jeep that I used to have. And put it in here. This motor was slated to go into like 3 different vehicles, and I never did it because it came out of a truck. He used the axles, the engine, the transfer case, everything from a Dodge truck, put it in a Jeep. So it had the truck oil pan and pickup. And I live in Alaska, so buying anything, you know, that large, you get really raped with shipping. So yeah, I put it off, put it off, and I finally broke down and bought everything I need to throw that in a car. Got motor mounts. I have fuel pump, water pump, bunch of new stuff to throw on it. And yeah, that's the plan anyway. I did go through and clean the rest of the dirt and moss and sand and everything out of the Charger here. And yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to drive it next weekend because of a drive shaft issue. That being, I don't have one, and the car kind of isn't straight. So I'm not sure what all we'll figure out there, but it will run hopefully. That probably sounds like a convoluted mess, but the engine in this car was on its last legs before it was put in this car, and it is starting to really hurt. So I know the one out of the Jeep ran a lot stronger than this. I was going to put the one from the Jeep in the flat Charger because it wasn't currently in a car, but then I got to thinking, why the fuck am I going to do that when this will be what I'll actually be driving down the road? All I got to do with the flat Charger is, drive it on and off a trailer at car shows for the most part. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. I greatly appreciate everybody who is currently subscribed and watches the content. The watch time is one of the most important things I can get right now. If you're on the fence, it's free. You could just hit the button and forget I even exist, but I would still appreciate it. I'm hoping that the Charger video blows up enough to get me above the threshold of monetization, and then I can, at least get a little bit of gas money or something. In the meantime, I hope everybody is having a fun, productive summer and you're getting everything done with your projects that you intended, and more so.